When we think about equity, when we think about justice, a good education is what everyone needs to achieve that level of choice and access. It was an incredible privilege to go back home to St. Louis, where I grew up, to lead Teach for America in St. Louis, and to really hone in on this idea of how we not only give young people strong and rigorous academic skills, but also give them the kind of consciousness about the world and the confidence in themselves and where they come from to go and be true change agents. When you go into the neighborhoods in which we work, we've got young people who are incredibly powerful, and everything that they need is already inside of them. But given the ills of racism, oppression, poverty, mass incarceration, housing issues, health issues, and everything in between, they often aren't able to seize that power because of the zip code that they live in. And so it's important that we empower them to seize that power, and it means that we have to give them not just the academic tools and skills, but also a level of confidence and an awareness about the world that helps them go and change it. So it's really this idea that we're not just building learners, but we're also building leaders, and not just for tomorrow, but for today. So as I go into my next role in building a civil rights agenda for this organization, it's rooted in the idea that we are so committed to affirming and empowering young people, especially young people of color, first-generation Americans, and young people growing up in low-income circumstances. The first thing we have to do is listen. For far too long in education, privileged, wealthy, educated, elite folks sat in a room and declared an agenda for other people's children instead of consulting those children themselves and their families and their influencers. So the very first thing we have to do is listen. And we have to be okay with the fact that the answer from the Rosebud Indian Reservation in South Dakota might be different than the answer from the Rio Grande Valley, which might be different from the answer in Ferguson, and be okay with that and really wrestle what it means to hold up various cultural values as we do this. But I do believe that there is a path forward where we can combine democracy and the kind of innovation that folks in the education reform sector have been doing for so long and come up with brand new pathways, brand new ways to do this work. We can look at traditional public schools and charter schools and various kinds of teacher training programs and talk about cultural responsiveness, ensure that people are trained in anti-bias training. We can talk about different visions for schools and what restorative justice can look like instead of the kind of discipline that we know contributes to the school to prison pipeline. These are all things that are possible if we get out of our entrenched poles and actually start to work with what works best for kids.